We're here with another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and my thoughts on the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, your host, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Uncharted Lost Legacy. It's a standalone, lower-priced new Uncharted adventure that was actually originally intended to be single-player DLC for Uncharted 4 and was blown out to be a bit bigger. And I'll say, while it still feels a ton like Uncharted 4, it's shorter and more focused and honestly pretty fun. It takes place just a short while after the end of Uncharted 4, with Chloe teaming up with the ex-mercenary Nadine to make some cash and find the ancient treasure of the Tusk of Ganesh in the Western Ghats of India. It starts with this exciting sequence in a city that you've probably seen teased when the game was first announced, and then later on the game opens up into like its main crux. It's a pretty sizable open environment that really begs for you to drive around and explore every little nook and cranny. Basically, it's very much like, think of it like the Madagascar open sequence from Uncharted 4, but bigger, more open, and hidden with way more things to do and find. The open area is filled with side things to hunt down that are actually pretty interesting. Basically, you can hunt for a side treasure by collecting all these coins that are scattered throughout the map. Some are in like encounter bases filled with enemies, and other are stuck behind pretty tricky puzzles. And I'll say that, puzzles take a pretty big seat in this game, and the side stuff and the main stuff puzzles are surprisingly decent. They're fairly fulfilling, and a couple of them actually made me feel kind of dumb. But the combat is basically exactly what you'd expect, with some nice team melee hits between the two leads that are actually pretty cool. But one nice new addition is a silenced pistol, which kind of gives the encounters and stealth-oriented players a little bit more to work with. It's not perfect, it's not 100% a perfect stealth game, but it's some light, good, and pretty thrilling stuff. But you probably know that, because otherwise this is fundamentally Uncharted 4, straight up. Like, you're gonna be pulling crates, thankfully less though, there's a pretty good joke about them, but you're gonna be sliding on mud, you're gonna be climbing around ancient statues, and you're gonna do a lot of rope swinging on stuff. There is a bit less combat here and more exploration and puzzle solving, which it feels like a different balance than previous games with all that, and it's a nice change. There's a good mix of all, and it's paced pretty well. Like I said in the intro, the game is very focused, it knows what it wants to do, and it moves at a pretty good pace because it just keeps you pretty interested. I was pretty hooked on this one, and I did cruise through it really fast because I wanted to see the end. You know, breaking up the open-ended section, the game has a lot of good moments throughout, but it's bookended in the intro and the ending with some really good action set-piece sequences. The final action scene, probably for me, being up there with some of the best in the series. As a fan of Uncharted 2 more than anything, it got me really excited, but I won't spoil it for you. My biggest criticism is probably that the game is so Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 was a pretty long game where you may have gotten tired of pushing crates and finding ladders, and you're basically, like I said earlier, doing the same thing here. It doesn't do too many new things except for 2 pretty good vehicle encounter boss battles, but that's about it. They were pretty fun though, because they were somewhat like open-ended in how you tackle them, either stealthily or guns blazing, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But in terms of actual new tricks, not so much. So if you were expecting more new stuff, just be warned. But if you just want more of that Uncharted gameplay, you will definitely get it here. The story is kind of a simple one, but it's character focused. Not like ultra character heavy like Uncharted 4 was. This is way lighter stuff to chew on. It doesn't take itself as seriously. You have 2 main characters who both aren't exactly good guys. I know Drake wasn't either, but Chloe and Nadine are a bit further off the line. And obviously it goes without saying, Chloe is really awesome just as she was in 2 and 3, but with a little bit more here to flesh her out. She's smart like Drake, but way rougher around the edges. Nadine, though, is a bit more one note and more simple, but once the uneasy alliance works out between the two, she comes out of her shell and is actually pretty cool. They could both scrap, and it makes for some pretty bombastic adventure stuff. And interestingly enough, while it's formulaically Uncharted straight up, it doesn't actually lean on previous games much at all, except for a brief mention and 1 character showing up. This game stands on its own pretty well. I think it also should go without saying the game looks absolutely incredible. Definitely, actually, this sounds like a snob thing, but it makes a difference what type of TV you play on. But the game looks damn good. Like, I was 2 hours in and I already like wore out the screenshot button. The environments are really big, but still so detailed. The water, the lighting, the characters, the dirt on their pants, everything looks really nuts. If you were really impressed with Uncharted 4 and oogled over that game, you will here. And there's also still a camera mode with a couple of new features, which is nice. But what you get with Lost Legacy, you get the single player component. You also get access to Uncharted's competent competitive multiplayer mode, which is pretty good, as well as the more recent survival mode, which is a really solid Horde mode style thing with like an Uncharted spin. If you just like the run, gun, climb, jump gameplay of Uncharted, that's a mode you should definitely check out. I've been playing it since before Lost Legacy with Uncharted 4 just a couple weeks ago, and it's awesome. Now, here's the thing. I finished up the game in 6.5 hours. It looks like an easy platinum, so I'm definitely going to go back and find all the hidden stuff, but I do wish the game were a bit longer. Unlike Uncharted 4 though, which I think was almost a bit too long, kind of outstaying its welcome. Like I got bored of some of the mechanics. I actually wish we got a little bit more from Lost Legacy. But thankfully, for some, the lower price reflects the length, I guess. Maybe it's too short for you, maybe it's too expensive, maybe not. Look, I think that's up for you to decide. I do recommend it if you're a big fan of the series. If you want more Uncharted, you've got some really good Uncharted here. You got a really good looking game to show off your cool TV or your PS4 Pro or whatever. And I think most importantly, I'm surprised. I think the series is in good hands without Nathan Drake on the cover. I did not expect to say that, but here I am. I did manage to get my hands on the game early. I have been playing it for a while, but if you're jumping into it, I do want to know what you think as a hardcore Uncharted fan. How do you feel about this new adventure without Nathan Drake? Can you stomach it? Do you like these characters? Would you like another game exploring these two characters? I don't know if I would, but I think I'm just down with not always having Nathan Drake. I know I'm good with that. If you haven't played it, maybe you've just been watching some gameplay here and there. What do you think? Do you think it looks good? I kind of want to hear all your opinions about this one because it's easy to just say Uncharted is the best, but there's little things here and there that aren't so perfect. So let's talk about anything Uncharted down in the comments. I'll be there with you guys answering questions as much as I can, and if you got anything else for me, hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino as usual, you know. But clicking the like button does help me out. We really appreciate it over here, and if you are new for some reason, subscribe because we put out stuff like this all the time. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Can't say I was expecting that. You ready?
Yeah, just taking it all in.